Howdy folks, I'm Brian.
I'm Amber.
And here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I the Jerk for Wanting to Keep My Bees Even Though My New Neighbor's Son is Highly Allergic to Them? I have been keeping bees as a hobby for 6 years now. I have 4 hives in my suburban backyard along with a large garden. My hives are all properly registered and are legal to keep in my town as of right now. The problem is that my new neighbors have asked me to get rid of my bees. They purchased the house next to me and moved in over the winter and hadn't noticed my girls until the spring. Apparently, their son is highly allergic to bee stings, and he's been hospitalized more than once and has to carry an EpiPen. They asked nicely, but seemed a little upset when I said I don't think I could do that. They didn't push the issue with me further, but then I saw a rant on Nextdoor that I'm sure was written by them. Sometime after that, some of the bee-hating Nextdoor people went to our town board and tried to get beekeeping outlawed in our town. Luckily, it didn't pass, and they had mentioned in the minutes that current beekeepers would have been grandfathered in if they had. Because of that, I'm even more wary of giving up in case they bring up this legislation again. If I have active hives, I can keep them. My neighbors and I aren't really on speaking terms. Am I the jerk for wanting to keep doing my hobby? Edit, thank you for everyone for your input. Since many have suggested this, I do already have security cameras in place all around my house and pointing directly at my hives. You cannot access the hives without spending significant amount of time on video. The hives are also behind locked fences. I just purchased a sign and put it on there saying that this area is under video surveillance and we'll be affixing that to the gate ASAP. Sorry to see that we couldn't play nice and this thread got locked. Also, thank you for the death threats in my DMs, lol. But it looks like the overall consensus is not the jerk, so thanks for helping put my mind at rest about this. Well, after sleeping on it and spending more time in the morning making a few legal calls, the bees are staying. I just can't take the financial blow on this one. I've spent thousands on my yard. It provides a nice side income and I just can't do it. I have all my legal ducks in a row, with my setup carrying the proper insurance and following all the state and local laws. I shouldn't have much to worry about legal issues as long as I keep doing what I have been doing. I will be reaching out to my neighbor with an olive branch and some suggestions to keep their kids safe. Many people have asked how I would feel if something like that happened to the kid, and sure, I would feel bad about it. It would be tragic. Also, my bees have always been legally permitted and registered. So, dear viewer, what do you think? Do you think that this is kind of a jerky thing to do, or do you think that they should be allowed to keep the bees? My personal feeling on this is that they should keep their bees. As long as the kid isn't approaching the hives and isn't actively threatening the hives, he shouldn't be any more at risk with the bees than any other bee type situation. There are wild bees out there, and it's as likely that he would get stung by a wild bee as he would by, a bee in one of these beehives. It sounds like this person has put a lot of love into these beehives, and it certainly seems like they care a lot for their bees. And it's not their fault that their neighbors moved in, and they shouldn't be forced to give up a hobby that they love just because their neighbors are a certain way. I would ask this kind of question. So say, for instance, you're into farming and one of the crops that you do as a hobby is peanuts. Would it be as wrong for you to continue to grow peanuts in your own yard if you had a neighbor who was, deathly allergic to peanuts? I would say that it would be really hard to justify, having a neighbor who just moved in and, they try coming in and telling you that, oh, well, my son's allergic to peanuts. Please stop growing peanuts in your yard. That would be really kind of an unfair thing. I mean, they might have a point if, for instance, even the flowers or the, growing peanuts outside caused them problems. At that point in time, maybe, but it still is one of those things where, you're asking an awful lot out of your neighbors. So I really have a hard time faulting them. I can understand why the neighbors would feel this way. They want to protect their son, but their son's going to be around bees for their whole life unless they move into like a city where there aren't bees. Are there bees in cities? Actually, I've heard of people keeping bees on the roof of city buildings. So yes, Brian, there are bees in the city. Thanks for answering my question. So yeah, that's my thoughts here. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk. It wasn't unreasonable of them to ask, nor were they jerks until they started a rant on Nextdoor and tried to legislate against your hobby and pets. You were there first. You don't move your hives. You just winterize them. They were still in your yard. Plenty of people are allergic to bees, and they go about their activities with caution and an EpiPen. Also, it's not like bees will magically avoid their yard just because OP isn't keeping them. A wild hive will move in to pollinate the territory. So, to my mind, it's a little silly to ask. I am highly allergic EpiPen user, and my neighbor has hives. I'm aware of the increase in bees, but we have learned to coexist in our neighborhood. I agree that it wasn't unreasonable to ask, and it wasn't unreasonable to decline, but it was pretty bad to put it on blast. Not the jerk. I want to be clear that it's not your fault. Beekeeping is a good hobby, one that helps us all out. Buying a home next to you isn't theirs either, unless there was a sign that you had bees on your property. This was just a series of unfortunate circumstances. I can't really call them the jerk when their son could be hospitalized or worse. That's terrifying. And I can't exactly tell you all to move. Therefore, I will say no jerks here. Alright, our next letter is titled, Am I the jerk for asking my family for help after having a surprise baby? I'm an 18-year-old female. On Thursday evening, I unexpectedly gave birth to a baby boy. I had what was called a cryptic pregnancy. I didn't know I was pregnant up till the moment that I gave birth to my son. It's a massive shock to everyone. And for the most part, my family and the father are supportive. The baby was born at 35 weeks gestation, so there was some NICU time. Since the baby came so unexpectedly, we haven't had any time or money to prepare. So far, all we've got is a car seat for him to come home in, and that's been borrowed, some clothes, and a tub of formula provided by the hospital for when we get home. I felt guilty for doing this, but I'm in need of help quickly. So I posted to Facebook, which has both sides of my family and close friends only, asking if anyone had some old newborn items they aren't using anymore. The baby's father saw the post and texted me telling me to take it down. When I said neither us nor our parents have the money to prepare for the baby that's already been born so quickly, I will take all the help I can get. I did end up taking the post down, but apparently someone already shared the post with a family member of his, who told the rest of his extended family. They're hyper-religious and are now all hounding him. He thinks that I'm a jerk for posting it to begin with. I don't think I am, but I think I need an outside source. Am I the jerk? OP, no, you're not the jerk. If anyone's a jerk here, it's the father in this situation. Like, he cares more about his reputation right now than taking care of his child and getting help for, like, an unknown pregnancy. That seems a little icky. Like, it just seems, they're going to have to find out eventually that he has a kid. What was he planning on doing? Hiding it for 18 years? Like, this doesn't even make any sense. Like, oh, he's going to hide it for a year? So, enough is enough. Rip that Band-Aid off. I don't think you did anything wrong here. I think he's being overly sensitive, and I think that he's kind of being a jerk here, telling you to take down a post where when you're trying to reach out for help, you need help here. So no, I don't think that you're the jerk. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Someone might see it. He's a jerk for being worried about the parents and not his kid. Best of luck. OP was thinking about the child. Boyfriend was thinking about how he appears to his family, not the jerk. Like, for real, so his family are religious. That ship has sailed for hiding the baby. Like, she's a whole human now. How long does he think he can be a father and hide the kid from his family? If OP is 18, I'm guessing he's young too, but there's a baby now, so they need to start being adults. And part of that is owning up to your own choices. Yeah. All right. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for scheduling my wedding without asking my sister first? obligatory throwaway account since some family members are active on Reddit. I'm a 27-year-old female and I got engaged in November 2020, but because of COVID has had so many things put on pause, we decided to wait until the world started looking semi-normal before picking a date, venues, etc. Earlier this spring, we started reaching out to venues and decided on a date in June 2022. We were excited to finally get the ball rolling on this and took engagement photos, printed out save the date cards, and mailed out a couple of weeks ago. Last weekend, I get a call from my younger sister in tears. She has also had a COVID engagement, but after hours. She got engaged in February 2021. She was furious that I had picked a date without first checking with her and that she wanted a June 2020 wedding as well. Mind you, she has never told either myself or our parents about the desired date and hadn't sent anything formal or informal out. Last night we were at our parents' for dinner like we do almost every weekend, and then she proceeds to get absolutely hammered. She then screamed at my mother and me about how I was ruining her fairy tale wedding and that I'm a conceited bee for not including her in my planning to make sure that we didn't overlap our dates or anything. She confessed that while her and her fiancé were likely to get engaged at some point, my engagement put a lot of pressure on them and said word for word that I should have had the decency to ask both of my non-engaged sisters at the time they were both not engaged, one still isn't, if it was okay for me to get engaged before them.
She's the younger sister on top of that.
I feel like maybe I'm missing some unwritten sister code here that I unknowingly broke. Am I the jerk for getting engaged and not planning my wedding date with my little sister? You know, OP, you should consult your sister for every major life decision. Like, what's the point in having you clearly are being an adult wrong. You need to run everything by her. From the smallest details of your life to the largest details of your life. Just make sure she signs off on all of it. Because, as your younger sister, she is entitled to control your life in every meaningful way. That's the rules that I think exist somewhere. I think that, it seems reasonable.
This is brought to you by Brian's Bad Advice.
So, yeah, OP, the thing is that you're not the jerk in this situation. Your sister is acting completely unreasonable. This is so bizarre. I just cannot imagine. Like, who thinks that... Why would you ever have to consult your sister before getting engaged? That is such an overreach, such a step over the boundary. It's just insane. I don't know. I think that your sister has delusions, and you didn't ruin her fairy tale wedding. She could have just picked a different year and not rushed into getting engaged. Yeah. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk. Are you going to ask her for permission to get kids or buy a house too? Your sister is so ridiculous and self-centered. My sister-in-law told me that I was allowed to get married before her, but I couldn't get pregnant before her. She would need to have the first grandchild since she's the oldest. Well, too bad. We had our kid, and 6 years later she isn't married or has kids. Would have been quite a wait, apparently. Some people are just weird about the order people do things. What kind of nonsense is this? As for the wedding date, with both of you being engaged, it might have been a good idea to talk about dates, but she didn't tell you that she wanted a June 2020 wedding, and from her other comments, I didn't think that she really wanted it until you chose it. But there's a June every year, and 11 other months to choose from. Not the jerk, but I think your sister is going to be a huge nightmare. I am already picturing the Am I the Jerk post about my sister says I stole her wedding dress. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. If you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!